You just paid a capital reserve fee last month. You probably don't remember exactly how much. That's the point. Here's the number. The average private club member in America paid $47 per month in 2024 towards something called capital reserve. That's $564 a year. Across a decade of membership, that's $5,640. Now here's what that money actually bought. A certificate on a wall saying the club had a plan. Not a renovation, not new irrigation. A plan. A document. You funded a PDF. Let that number sit for a second. The capital reserve fee is the most carefully engineered leak in your golf budget because it carries the language of responsibility. It sounds like adulthood. It sounds like stewardship. It sounds exactly like the kind of fee a responsible member should pay without asking questions. The official story goes like this. Clubs need to replace roofs every 20 years, irrigation systems every 15, cart fleets every 5. A capital reserve fund ensures the money is there when the asset dies. It's forward thinking. It's prudent. It's the mark of a well-run club. That story works because it's partially true. Clubs do need to replace things. The deception isn't in the need. The deception is in the execution. Here's what the National Golf Foundation found in their 2022 Club Financial Benchmark Survey. Among clubs that collected capital reserve fees, the median balance in those funds was $1.2 million. That sounds healthy until you learn that the average deferred maintenance backlog across Midwest clubs alone was $7 million per facility, per the American Institute of Architects' 2021 case study. The math doesn't work. A $1.2 million reserve against a $7 million backlog means the fee is structurally insufficient to do its job. You're paying for a fund that can't fund anything. Quick question before we get deeper into this. When you opened your last club statement, did you even read the capital reserve line? Or did your eyes skip past it, treating it like a utility bill you've memorized and stopped questioning? Drop it in the comments. I want to see. If that moment of skipping, that automatic scroll past the line, sounded familiar, then you just discovered the exact psychological seam the clubs are working. Most members never look because looking feels like distrust. Subscribe if you want to keep finding those seams before they find your wallet. This channel is about turning blind spots into leverage, one line item at a time. Here's the first crack in the facade. In 2023, the Texas Attorney General's office audited a facility called Lone Star Golf Club. They discovered $450,000 in capital reserve funds that members paid specifically for irrigation upgrades. The money never touched a sprinkler head. It went to a private clubhouse renovation that no member voted on. No ballot, no floor vote, just a board decision and a quiet line item shuffle. That's not an isolated bad actor. That's the system working as designed. Capital reserve fees are uniquely vulnerable because they carry no expiration date. Your annual dues have a clear purpose. Your food minimum has a clear mechanism. Your capital reserve fee is a slush fund with a respectable name. When Golf Digest investigated the capital reserve fee system in early 2024, they found 3 separate clubs that had raised monthly assessments while simultaneously deferring major renovation projects for more than 5 years. The money came in. The projects got pushed, the fees grew. The members never saw a single roof replaced or a single irrigation line laid. This is where the psychology gets interesting. A 2021 study in the Journal of Nonprofit and Voluntary Sector Research surveyed 842 private club members. They found that 38% reported that repeated capital fee increases reduced their trust in club leadership. That's a significant number. But here's the piece that clubs count on. The same study found that trust erosion happened slowly. Members didn't leave over a $47 monthly fee. They grumbled, they accepted, they paid. The clubs know this. They engineered the fee to be small enough to ignore and large enough to matter on a balance sheet. Let that number sit for a second. 38% of members lost trust, and they kept paying. That's not loyalty. That's inertia. The clubs are betting on your inertia. Remember the Golf Digest investigation found clubs raising fees while deferring projects. Here's the mechanism that makes that possible. A capital reserve study projects costs over a 20-year horizon. The projections are educated guesses. The actual costs depend on inflation, contractor availability, and board priorities. The study creates the appearance of precision while allowing complete discretion in execution. If you've ever opened a club statement and seen a capital reserve line item and felt a small flicker of pride that your club was being financially responsible, you know that quiet satisfaction of believing you're funding something real. That satisfaction is the product. The clubs sell you the feeling of responsibility. They keep the cash. A 2022 study in psychology and marketing looked at 1 to 103 members across membership organizations. They found that when clubs publicly disclosed their capital reserve methodology, 71% of members felt more confident about fee assessments. Transparency increased trust. But here's the catch. The same study found that only 12% of clubs actually provided full methodology disclosure. The rest gave vague descriptions or simple bottom-line figures. You're not getting the methodology. You're getting a number on a statement. The clubs know that transparency builds trust. They also know that full transparency would reveal how little of your money actually reaches the projects you think you're funding. The fee is built on a psychological principle called social identity attachment. A 2023 study in organizational behavior and human decision processes surveyed 527 club members and found that strong social identity attachment predicted higher willingness to accept fee hikes. Members who identified strongly with their club were twice as likely to accept unexplained capital assessments. Think about what that means. The more you love your club, the more you're willing to pay for something that may never happen. Your loyalty is the mechanism that keeps the fee flowing. The clubs don't need to deliver renovations. They need you to believe you're part of something that deserves renovations. There's an even deeper mechanism at work. In 2024, a study in the Journal of Consumer Psychology examined 618 members and found that 54% rationalized unexplained capital reserve fees as future investments, even when no visible projects occurred. The term they used was cognitive dissonance reduction. In plain language, members convince themselves the money is working because the alternative is admitting they're being played. If you've ever paid a capital reserve fee for 2 consecutive years and seen zero construction on your course, you know that nagging feeling that something is off. You pushed it down. You told yourself the money was building up for a big project. You gave the club the benefit of the doubt. That benefit of the doubt is how the system survives. Here's the core truth that ties all of this together. The capital reserve fee is not designed to fund renovations. It's designed to fund the appearance of financial planning. The fee creates a paper trail that satisfies auditors and membership committees. The actual work happens only when the board decides it happens, which is often never. You're paying for a fiction with a certificate of authenticity. The counter-principle is simple but uncomfortable. You need to see the project schedule. Every capital reserve study produces a 20-year replacement timeline. Your club has that document. They've shared it with the board. They have not shared it with you. Ask for it. If the club can produce a timeline with specific years and specific asset categories, you have a functional capital reserve system. If they give you a vague answer about ongoing assessments and future needs, you're funding a black box. The second counter-principle is to calculate your total capital reserve contribution over your expected membership tenure. If you plan to stay 10 years and your monthly fee is $47, that's $5,640. Now compare that to the projects completed during your tenure. If the club replaced the irrigation system in year 3, your fee did something. If the only visible change was a new sign at the entrance, your money went somewhere else. You need to see the receipts. Not the club's receipts, the contractor's receipts. Capital reserve funds that reach actual projects leave a paper trail. Funds that sit in accounts or get diverted leave a different trail. The difference is discoverable if you know what to ask. The third counter-principle is the most powerful. In the 2021 study that found 38% of members lost trust due to repeated fee increases, the researchers noted a crucial detail. Members who received a written breakdown of exactly how their fees translated into specific asset replacements reported trust levels that were nearly identical to members who paid no capital fees at all. Transparency didn't just prevent trust erosion, it restored trust to baseline. The clubs that refuse transparency are making a calculation. They've decided that the cost of losing a few inquiring members is lower than the cost of running a genuine capital program. They're betting you won't ask. Don't meet that bet. One of the most dangerous features of the capital reserve fee is what happens when you leave. Most clubs do not refund capital reserve contributions when members resign. The money stays. It gets allocated to projects that benefit the next generation of members while you paid the full bill during your tenure. You're renting a fund that will buy someone else's roof. The Golf Digest investigation found one club where resigning members had collectively contributed $1.4 million in capital fees over a 15-year period. The club had performed exactly one capital project during that span, a cart path resurfacing that cost $180,000. The remaining $1,022 million sat in an account that the board described as building toward a future clubhouse renovation. No timeline. No architect, no drawings, just a hope and a line item. If you've ever left a club and felt a small sting when you realized your capital contributions weren't coming back, you know that quiet understanding that the system was never designed to serve you. It was designed to serve the institution. The institution doesn't have feelings. It has a balance sheet. Your money is on the wrong side of that sheet. Here's the path forward. Every capital reserve fee should come with three things: a published project schedule, an annual reconciliation report showing exactly what was funded, and a refund policy for resigning members. If your club provides none of these, your fee is a tax on your loyalty, not a contribution to your future. The smartest capital strategy is not to avoid all fees. It's to know which fees fund something real and which fees fund a document. Ask the question. Read the response. If the response is vague, you know exactly what you're funding. Your next club statement has a capital reserve line item. Look at the number. Multiply it by 12. Multiply it by the years you plan to stay. That's the total cost. Now ask yourself, have you seen that much value in renovations during your time as a member? If the answer is no, the fee is the product, not the renovation. One of those hidden charges is more dangerous than the others. The capital reserve contribution is the only fee on your statement that funds something you may never see, delivered by a board you may never meet, under a schedule you'll never review. Every other fee has a clear service exchange: dues by access, food minimums by meals, locker fees by a locker. Capital reserve buys a promise. Promises are cheap. Your money is not. Before we wrap, I want you to do one thing with the number you just calculated. Take that total, your personal capital reserve investment over the years you plan to stay, and ask yourself honestly whether you'd rather have that cash in your own account earning interest while you watch actual renovations happen, or sitting in a club's account earning nothing while you hope.
What is the total cost of this membership?
Drop it in the comments.
The answer:
the exact dollar figure and whether you saw that much work get done. If this episode opened a door you didn't know existed, subscribe so you don't miss the clause breakdown coming next. It's the fine print that makes all of this legal, and once you see it, you'll never read a fee structure the same way. This channel exists to arm you with one question that turns every line item transparent. Ask it, subscribe, stay ahead of the statement.